Hey, this is Daryl Henry with Insurance for Entrepreneurs. And this video is how to buy commercial property insurance in Maryland. I'm going to start by talking about whether or not you should use an independent agent. And then I'm going to talk through the process of buying commercial property insurance so that you can understand it, whether or not you use an agent or choose to buy insurance on your own. So, first off, making a decision about whether you use an agent to buy commercial property insurance. If you don't use an agent, you are accepting responsibility for the entire process. You're going to need to understand what is covered under an insurance policy, how it's going to respond, what limits you should represent, how the policy is going to work, all so that you can make sure that your program is structured correctly. If your needs are simple, you can probably get away with it. However, I think most people are going to be best served if they go hire an insurance professional to help them put their insurance program together. So, first off, if you're going to go through the process and buy it yourself, or even if you just want to understand what your agent is doing so that you can have better insight into what's going on, the first step is understanding your coverage needs. You're going to need to understand all the buildings you own, all the properties you own, all the locations you own, inventory, and fixtures so that you can make sure it's accurately represented on an insurance policy. You're going to need to know where it's located so that you understand how that impacts what your needs are. If you're in Cambridge or in Ocean City on the Eastern Shore, you've got a higher risk of wind or hail than you might if you are in Allegheny County out in the western part of the state. You're also going to need to know how much money you would need to replace your assets. We're not talking about market value, how much it would cost to sell your buildings. That's not what insurance policies deal with. Insurance policies deal with replacement cost, how much it would cost to put it back if something happened. And you're also going to need to understand if you need business interruption coverage, which is net income and continuing expenses if something happens to your property and you can't use it. The second thing you're going to need to do is learn about Maryland specific considerations. Maryland's a wonderful state. I lived here most of my life. And one of the things I love about it is the diversity in it. The eastern part of the state is very different from the western part of the state, which is different from the central part of the state, which is different from Baltimore, which is different from the DC suburbs. Everyone's got their own specific needs. Some areas are more prone to flood. You're going to have to think about whether you should buy flood insurance or whether it's required by your lender. You're also going to need to consider weather hazards. The eastern part of the state is more likely to have wind and hail. And some insurance companies are even saying Baltimore and central Maryland and the DC suburbs are prone to wind and hail. You're going to have to consider what your needs are in that respect. And then also, if there's any local regulations about that you need to comply with, you're going to have to consider that as well. The third part of buying insurance is choosing the right insurance provider. And this is one of the values of working with an independent agent that works with a number of different insurance companies is they can go to a broader market and help you understand everything that's available to you, or most everything, so that you can pick what is best for you. Now, there are some direct companies and captive companies that offer wonderful products. State Farm is a great company, so is Erie. They may be the right insurance company for you. But if something happens with that company and they're no longer interested, a lot of times those agents have very limited options. So, as you're choosing an insurance provider, make sure you're checking out whether or not they've got the money to pay for claims. So you check out their financial strength. AM Best is one of the most respected authorities on that count. You can look to see if the insurance company is A minus rated. Should also check to see that they understand your specific industry because different industries have different needs when it comes to property insurance. If you're an apartment building, you should be wanting to work with a company that insures a lot of apartment buildings so that they are committed to you and what you do. Similar for a church or any other type of building for that matter. Every industry has its own quirks. And so you want to make sure that the insurance company that's insuring you understands your quirks. Also, check out reviews and ratings and make sure that the company's good at a time of claim. Once again, this is a value of working with an agent is Theoretically, if they've got a lot of business with that company, they understand the claims process and they should be able to vet to you whether or not that insurance company is any good. So once you've done research on the insurance companies, you got to get quotes and you got to compare them. You may get a quote from a wonderful insurance company and their quote is terrible. Happens all the time. It's really hard to know what an insurance company is going to quote you until you actually go through the process and get it back. You're going to need to look and see if they're willing to offer the coverage limits that you need, whether they're willing to offer the coverages you need. One company may decide that if you're in Baltimore that you're prone to wind and hail, whereas another company will say that's crazy. The only way to know is to go approach them. Some may want to attach wind hail deductibles or have higher deductibles based on where you're at. Some may just want to charge a lot more money or exclude certain things. The only way to really know what's available to you is to approach the marketplace and ideally have one person to take you there and that can explain it to you when you get there. The fifth thing that you need to do when you're going out to the marketplace is try and bundle your property insurance with other lines of coverage to save money. Look, with commercial insurance, there's usually not multi policy discounts. That's not typically how it works. However, insurance companies love to spread risk. And so if they are looking at your account and they're saying, well, hold on, we're going to get property and liability and auto and work comp, they may be more willing to be aggressive or do some things for you that they wouldn't do if all they're looking at is the property insurance. So it's really important when you're looking at your business insurance, you look at it holistically. You're having somebody consider all the options on all the lines because there may be different ways to put things together to help you get the best deal. All right. That's the process. You still need to review these things every year because the marketplace changes from year to year. Ideally, that's why you have an agent. I hope this helps. If it did, please hit like and subscribe. It helps other people like you find my channel, find my content. And if you want to learn more about me, go to my website at insuranceforontrepreneurs.net. It's got more content like this and it's got my contact information. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Please go build something great.